Welcome to the Sage Women podcast, hosted by Melanie White and Dr. Nick Engera. We have real conversations with real women, health professionals, and coaches who share stories about perimenopause, menopause, and a range of women's health issues. Please subscribe so you get the latest updates every fortnight.
Super excited to be on the podcast today with Kristine Gardener. Kristine, thank you for your time in a busy week.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background, like your own intro bio, to let the audience know
Yeah.
the short version of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a naturopath and a health and wellness coach. And I've been a naturopath for about 25 years and a health coach for about 10 years. And I also am a metabolic balance practitioner, which I'll explain at some point during this conversation. So I actually started off as a teacher and it just grew from there. Teacher, trainer, naturopath, coach. And I've recently also studied NER, which is naturopathic emotional release, which is kind of a combination of tapping and kinesiology, tapping into body systems that might have emotional blocks as to the physiological symptoms that are going on with a person as well. So always putting another layer on the cake.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, no, it keeps me busy. It keeps me learning all the time, which is something I really like doing.
So I know that you work solely pretty much with menopausal women, or probably 99% perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal women. Why that group?
That's true. I do work predominantly with menopausal women, and I'd love to say it was savvy marketing that took me there, but it wasn't. It was just organically the way it happened. I think one of the things I've learned very slowly over my career is target what you know. And I am a menopausal woman. So, working with menopausal women, I understand what they're going through. I also know that what they're going through isn't something that they have to go through. Menopause shouldn't be, painful. It shouldn't be sleep deprivation. It shouldn't be, feeling uncomfortable all the time. It actually should be a time of joy and comfort. But for a lot of women, it's not. So for me, I guess I really love working in that area, and I've attracted women of that area, A, because I am one, but B, because I see wonderful results with them, and I see how happy they are. They really, myself included, feel so sad that they've lost their identity in menopause. And what I do predominantly with the metabolic balance program is allow them to get that back, and they're just so grateful. It's the weight loss, and yes, it's the inflammation, yes, it's all those things, but at the heart of it, it's about them feeling like them again, and they're amazed, and it's a really lovely, rewarding area to work in.
And when they come to you, what are the sorts of the things that they're complaining about or saying are the most painful symptoms? I mean, we know that 83% of women have at least one symptom that disrupts work. How does that present for the clients that come to you?
Yeah, look, I think it's in a couple of ways. I think a lot of my clients, we work in a hybrid work environment predominantly these days, and a lot of them struggle with confidence going into the office a lot of the time because their body confidence has been affected. Or, if we go from a strictly physiological perspective, their sleep might have been impacted, the stress of going in, the stress of the hybrid environment sometimes. So I find with menopausal women, it's often about that body confidence thing, but also, they might be, I'm speaking very generally, but they might be a bit embarrassed about the fact that during the day they might get hot flushes and they might have to take themselves off to cool down in a pretty public space. So I think we underestimate, we kind of joke about menopause and go, hot flushes or night sweats or whatever, but they can be really debilitating for people. And I think for women who are professionals in the workforce, it's doubly so.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like body confidence and confidence generally are key things, but you also mentioned sleep and I know that you work with a lot of women around weight loss. So imagine it's getting tight, uniforms getting tight.
Yeah.
Feeling uncomfortable is part of that too.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's about feeling discomfort, but also, again, I'm speaking generally, but for a lot of my clients, the physical discomfort can also trickle over to work confidence. Are they as confident in the role they perform when they're not as confident within themselves? Or, the almost other side of that is they're really great at everything else, but they're not feeling confident about their capacity to be able to control their weight, for want of a better word, when really, in fact, it's predominantly out of their control unless they go down a really structured pathway of trying to heal the cause of it, which is, often about inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm. And can we ask about what your own journey has been like?
Yeah, sure. So I'll probably start telling you about my journey by telling you my sister's journeys first. So I have twin sisters, and they're several years older than me, and they have been actively in menopause and with symptoms for almost a decade. So, following in their footsteps, I predicted the same thing. I started getting menopausal symptoms at about the same age as them, but I could count on two hands the number of symptoms I've had in the last 5 years. And I'm now postmenopausal, and I really cruised through menopause. And they haven't. And I know there's genetic differences between us, but on the same token, I know I've made completely different decisions health-wise than they have as well. And I attribute it almost solely to that as to why I've cruised through menopause and actually feel great, not suffering a lot of the symptoms that other people do. So, I've had a couple of nights where I've had hot flushes, and it's been really weird, but they're an anomaly for me. So it's been pretty easy, and I feel almost guilty saying that because I know it's not for so many people, but I'm really grateful. And that, back to my earlier point, is it's how it should be. It shouldn't be a chore to get through menopause. It should just be something that we do.
And there's some stories and studies from Japan about how Japanese women don't experience symptoms
because of lifestyle.
Yeah, they're eating a lot of soy, they're eating different foods altogether, probably a lot of omega-3s, perhaps less stressed, more mindful.
And look, as a naturopath who studied naturopathy back when naturopathy was predominantly about food-based healing with supplements, I 100% think if we're not taking care of our diet specifically to our own body's needs, then it's an uphill battle. We just, it's just such a slog to try and lift those symptoms without actually, working with our body and fueling it with the right things. Because if we don't disinflame the gut, we're not going to disinflame anything around the body. And I know I keep talking about inflammation, and some people might listen to this and go, oh, I'm not inflamed, but you probably are. Most people who see a naturopath, I would almost say every person that sees a naturopath is inflamed, because inflammation is at the heart of so many conditions in the body. And if we don't, like I said before, if we don't heal the gut first, that's the root of it all. Like, we're not fueling ourselves, then the body's not going to be able to heal effectively. Might for a time, but it's a Band-Aid approach. It's not solving the problem, it's just putting a patch on it.
Yeah, I guess anything ending with itis is an inflammatory condition.
It is, that's it. So, or, even hormonal conditions like endometriosis or PCOS, or people struggling to conceive, or people, insomnia. It's a big one. They're all based around inflammation within the body. And if we don't clean that up, then it's really hard. And this is why I think a lot of people, particularly menopausal women, get so frustrated and just throw their hands up because they feel like they're doing everything right. Like, a lot of my clients eat really well, they eat really healthily, yet they've got this belly fat, or they've got this fatigue, or just lack of energy or energy, dips during the day or moods, let alone all the physiological symptoms. And they can't understand why, because on the surface, they appear to be doing everything right. So when I talk to them, they get very excited because they realize it's not something that they're doing wrong. They're trying to work it out at the gym or run it off or starve themselves sometimes to try and get the results. But it's not about that. It's about actually fueling the body properly rather than trying to, burn off the calories.
So if they think they're eating well and they're eating enough calories, what is it? Is it that they're eating the wrong foods for them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so as I said, I've been a naturopath for a long time, but I've worked as a metabolic balance practitioner. I trained in it about 4 years ago. And for me, massive game changer. Like it's personalized nutrition. And it's out of Germany, so it's really well engineered, but it looks at a person's blood chemistry and their demographics. So it takes, a lot of blood panels in one blood draw. So it's just a normal blood draw for a person, but the information we get is very comprehensive. And from that information, plus their demographics, their height, their weight, their measurements, their medical history, the medicines they're on, all of those things are taken into consideration. And a nutrition program that's designed specifically for them is what they get. And when I say specifically for them, it's predominantly around those blood values, plus the other information I just talked about. But what I do and what the program does for my menopausal clients, for any of my clients, but it matches their blood chemistry to the right food chemistry. So, you might be eating avocado thinking it's a really healthy vegetable, and it is, fruit, vegetable, whatever you want to call it. But it might not be great for you right now, because while you're inflamed, it could be causing further inflammation. So the list of foods that a person gets should be personalized to them, because no one's blood's the same as anyone else. Just like we don't look the same outside, we don't look the same inside either. So why would we all think that the same foods are right for everybody? It just doesn't work that way. But I also don't want to work with I don't want to work in a way that makes someone sit eating a certain number of foods for the rest of their life. That wouldn't work for me either. So what I do is help women to clean up their inflammation, their hormones, their metabolism, so that they can eat more freely later. And it works. Time and again, it works that they go through the stricter part of the program and heal so that their body is clean. And I've got no mechanical knowledge at all, but I kind of think of it the same way that I think of an engine in a car. So, if you don't ever change the oil in a car, and forgive me if anyone's mechanically minded out there and I'm not making any sense, but if you don't change the oil in a car, it's going to build up sludge. It's going to build up a layer, and the fuel's got to get through there, passing through all of these layers. And I kind of equate that with the body. When we're inflamed, when we're run down, our body is not just dealing with what we put in on a daily basis, but the backlog of what's there as well. And it can't keep up. When we clean it out, which is what I help women do, then it's sparkling clean, then it just zips through like it would in the motor of a car. When it's all clean, it runs beautifully. And our bodies are exactly the same. We need to actually do that background work so that it works optimally in the future. And this is why healthy food may not be healthy for someone now, even though it will be once they clean up their body.
I want to ask you about hormones at this point, because we know that at the time of menopause, there are so many different hormonal changes in your body, elevated cortisol, lower DHEA, insulin resistance, all of those things are happening. There's this hormonal cascade. How much of an impact can food have on that? And do some women need to go to hormonal replacement therapy, or I don't know exactly how to phrase the question, but how much of an impact can food have at a time when hormones are fluctuating all at once?
In my experience as a practitioner, and I've had plenty of it, it's imperative. Like you must eat the right food. Even people with great, strong constitutions, they need to eat the right food. If you are not eating the right food, then your body is going to struggle through menopause because of those hormonal shifts, because of all the trickle-on effect that those hormonal changes have in the body. Quite often menopausal women will have cravings. They'll crave sweets or, simple carbs. And one of the things I love hearing from my clients, and it's usually within a few days of starting working with me, that they have no cravings anymore. So, if they don't have cravings, then we know from a hormonal perspective that their insulin, their leptin, their ghrelin, all of those kind of hunger hormones are balancing out. So food's imperative. Like if they don't get that right, then it's a battle. In terms of hormone replacement therapy, I can't say whether anybody should or shouldn't be on HRT. That's not my position to do that. However, I have seen lots and lots of women not need to go there because they've eaten the right food. I've seen lots of women be able to, in consultation with their primary practitioner, their GP or whoever else, talk about reducing or coming off HRT because their bodies are more balanced. And, even a lot of postmenopausal women who start to get those chronic disease symptoms, the cholesterol, the diabetes, the hypertension, all of those kind of things that can typically hit around that time, be able in consultation with their GP to reduce or eliminate those medications as well. And I step out of that picture. That's got nothing to do with me, but that's something that they chat with their doctor about. And more than often, the doctors are so pleased to be able to help them come off those things because they're healthier. They're doing so much better.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking of the program I used to run that was a similar kind of approach as the one you use, and people were in consultation with their doctor coming off blood pressure medication and no more symptoms of diabetes, no more blood markers of diabetes. Somebody who had a lifelong rash all over his back, disappeared.
Yeah.
Food.
And that's it. Like I've had lots of people come to me, for obviously your standard hormonal and menopause symptoms, but lots of other things come along for the journey. Brain fog, disappears, memory gets better, moods get better, sleep improves, relationships, capacity to deal with stresses just improves so much. I've worked with ADHD clients and, they've just had wonderful, wonderful results where they just cope better. So, that whole gut-brain axis thing is definitely alive and well and is really impacted by the food that we put in there. But also, your more obvious things like joint pain or, I'll tell you one woman's journey if I can. So she's a perimenopausal woman. I was just trying to think whether she's perimenopausal, and she had gallbladder issues, and she also had a digestive condition where she was unable to eat a lot of foods and even to drink much water because she would regurgitate it. So she was under the care of 2 specialists for each of those conditions, and she worked with me, or I worked with her, and she went back to see both of those professionals. And the first one said, with this regurgitative condition she had, it used to look like a red ring around the area that joins the esophagus to the stomach. And it was like a red ring. And he said to her, if I didn't know you already, I would say you don't have a condition anymore. So she was able to eat and drink anything, water in any quantities, because it had healed to the point where he couldn't visibly see it anymore. And she'd had that for like over a decade. And she was on the waiting list to get her gallbladder removed. She didn't need to. There was nothing. She was fine. So, those are, I love my job because they're the things that, you look at that and you go, I'm not saying that hormonal conditions aren't important. They are. But when you look at things, where people avoid surgery or can reverse conditions that have been debilitating for them for years, that's wonderful, like really, really wonderful.
It's a game changer, and it's so empowering. I think something I'm taking away from this conversation too is that we put our trust and faith and reliance on third parties to treat us. And if they say that we need medication and that's all we've got, we're always relying on an external person to tell us what to do and to treat us. But the way you work with people, it's clear that you're helping them to understand what works for them. And then they don't need those other things or people, because they understand their bodies and they know what to do for themselves. They take back the control of and the power of their solution.
It's really empowering for people. If we go back to the earlier, point, we were talking about people feeling disempowered when they're going through menopause because they're in control of other areas of their life and don't feel control of that. It's very, very empowering for people to be able to go, well, all I have to do is eat well and I'm going to feel great. And I'm not saying that structural things will change. I'm talking about inflammation. I'm talking about hormones and metabolism. But the beauty of reducing inflammation, and I talk to lots of allied health professionals, physios, chiros, osteos, you name it, and they all agree that unless we remove the layer of inflammation, it makes their job so hard to be able to change someone structurally, to heal them structurally if it's overlaid with inflammation. So I work closely with chiropractors and a physio at the moment because they want to help their clients not have to come back week after week after week, because they'd rather have them tell other people to come there and heal themselves rather than have to maintain. And again, it sort of comes back to that Band-Aid thing versus the solution. So it's really, really empowering for people to know exactly what they need to do, to not have to worry about diets or buying bigger clothes or body confidence stuff. They know exactly what to do. And, if they go over to Italy and eat pasta for 3 months, half their life, they can come back and just reset with and they're nourishing foods. Like there's nothing special or magic there. It's just good food, good whole food that's aligned to them.
Nothing weird that you have to order from South America and it takes 2 weeks to get here. It costs $1,000.
Just whole food. It's just whole food. Yeah. And that's the answer for most people. But like I said before, lettuce might be healthy for me at the moment, but it might not be healthy for you, or a particular kind of lettuce might be, but not another one. We've got to get to the heart of that. And that's where blood testing and, really deep investigation can help with that.
It's so interesting. I can hear how you love your work. You've become so animated talking about the results. I bet you have a million stories of people that have made those changes and been empowered to get things back on track and get rid of the symptoms of menopause.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, how could you not love being able to help women feel great about themselves again? And the excitement that they come to a consultation with is just, palpable. It's so nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kristine, thanks so much for your time today. It's great to chat to you, and I feel hopeful and excited about managing menopause symptoms, but for people to know that they have a choice.
Absolutely.
And that they have the option to make some changes to the way they eat and what they eat to figure out what's best for them.
Yes. So
that they can feel better and start.
Absolutely do. Yeah, they really do. Thanks for having me today, Mel.
Thanks. And before we go, how can we get in touch with you?
Of course, yeah. So I'm from Melbourne Wellness Coaching is my business, so Melbourne Wellness Coaching, but I work with people all over the place. It's not just in Melbourne, it's just the name I came up with because I live in Melbourne. So you can go to my website, melbournewellnesscoaching.com.au. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram under Melbourne Wellness Coaching, so pretty easy to find. But yeah, I'd love to hear from people if they just want to have just a chat to see if what I do is right for them.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. See you.
See you soon.